Skull Rock Podcast is brought to you by the generosity of the following companies. The Old Mill Press, publishing beautifully crafted books that illuminate our world. To learn more, visit theoldmillpress.com. And by listeners like you.
Skull Rock Podcast is thrilled to announce that we are now on Patreon. Dive deeper into the world of animation, films, and behind-the-scenes stories with your hosts Aljon and Dave Bossert. Not only will you be helping to keep the magic alive, but will be part of our special community. We want to thank friend of the show, Joshua Volkert, as well as Skull Rock crew members, Steve Minch and Chris Banis for their support. If you would like to join our Skull Rock crew, please visit our Patreon link in our show notes or visit patreon.com/Skull Rock Podcast. Thank you for listening and for your continued support of everything we do.
Hi, this is animator Darley Brewster, and you're listening to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Aye, mateys, remember this as the day you sailed with the Skull Rock Podcast. Proceed at your own risk, and mark well me words, mateys. Dead men tell no tale.
Welcome to Skull Rock Podcast, the show about all things Disney and pop culture. Every week we take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite Disney films, theme park attractions, performances, books, music, as well as what's streaming, what's in theaters, and what's going on in this universe of entertainment. I'm Aljon, musician and longtime Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and pop culture fan. And you can email me, Aljon, ALJON, at skullrockpodcast.com.
And I'm Dave Bossert, artist, filmmaker, Disney historian, author, somebody who's being run ragged. Welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast. If you love Disney and pop culture, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on the Skull Rock YouTube channel. You can also email me at dave@skullrockpodcast.com. Aljon, how are you doing this fine day?
Man, summer, I believe, is in full effect. The kids are out of school, and we're just trying to do our very best to keep the kids entertained and go on family picnics and do all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, man, summer's in full effect. And I'm as busy as ever, just like you, Dave.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And you know something, Aljon, it was pushing triple digits out here last week. Yesterday.
Yes.
Literally over the weekend, it was pushing triple digits here. And, I've got a full house because both of my daughters have flown in from Europe.
Yes.
My youngest, who's working on her master's in Ireland, she flew in. And my oldest daughter, who's married and lives with her husband outside of Paris, France, she flew in. So the two of them are here in town with us, and so we have a full house for a week.
That's awesome.
It is.
So
it's nice.
Yes. So they're all back in the mothership, if you will.
They're back in the nest, as they say. You know?
But hey, by the way, have your kids heard the show? I mean, what do they think of the podcast?
Oh, yeah, they love it.
Okay.
They love the podcast.
It's like, who's this guy?
They don't listen to it regularly. They listen to it periodically. Every once in a while, they listen to an episode. But we have a great show again.
Yes.
We've got part 3 with Jim Hillin, visual effects supervisor, artist, animator. Looking forward to hearing the continuation of that conversation. We've got lots to talk about as far as news and obituary roll call.
Oh my goodness.
And also, by the way, we got an email. Well, actually, it was a message on social media last week. I think I mentioned this. It was from a listener, John, in Minnesota.
Oh.
And John asked the question, if I could ask Roger Chazon what he worked on heavy metal.
Yes.
So I reached out to Roger, and we have Roger giving the answer.
Oh, is that right? Great.
Skull Rock Podcast answers your email.
So, Roger, we got a note from one of our listeners in Minnesota, not too far from you.
Yeah.
He says, Dave, could you ask Roger Chazon sometime what scenes he animated on Heavy Metal? And that's from John in Minnesota.
Well, hello, John from Minnesota. It was a long time ago. It was hard to remember because when we came in on heavy metal, it was near the end. They were almost finished the picture, and of course, what happens in the production is they put all the hard scenes at the end. So you had all the crowd scenes, all the armies running down the hills, and some of the Tarna scenes that were a bit more difficult and stuff. And um, and I tried to find. I don't have a copy of heavy metal, but I looked through all YouTube and I found some pieces. There's a couple of scenes I did that I think I did. I couldn't be sure, but mainly the soldiers running into town. One guy stops and kind of cocks his gun and then continues running, and also some people running down the street and getting poles, like they're being stabbed with the lances and stuff like that. And then a couple of really big crowd scenes, but I don't know for sure. And I don't think they have all the scenes there in YouTube. I think they only have like 3 or 4, but there was more of them. Because I remember a distinct scene that was just a slow pan through a city and the city's burning, and that wasn't in there. I couldn't see. So it's kind of a difficult question to ask. Being as though, what year was that? Was 1970? No, 1980, something like that. Yeah. So it's a long time ago.
And Roger, I appreciate you coming on and answering the question for John, but what did you think of the movie overall?
Well, I thought the only thing about the movie, it was done in so many places. There was a studio in Ottawa, and one in Montreal, who was, well, I keep forgetting his name, the director. I think he was in charge of like the whole thing. And eventually they put all these, there was a studio, some in London that was done. I think a bit was done in LA. And then they would all send it to Montreal to be put together. I think the music was pretty cool. They had all the popular bands at the time. So I think they spent most of the money there. But I found that there was a big difference in the styles. You know, you look at Tarna and you look, I think the one I liked the best was the Captain Stern sequence, which is, I think was done in Ottawa. And it was the more cartoony one. There was one particular scene, I think that was done in England. And it was, the main character was voiced by John Candy at the time. They had just done Second City TV show. And so I was like, oh, you did. And then at the end, of course, I think we did get a credit. Thank you. I would thank them for that, but we didn't go to any kind of a premiere or anything like that. They didn't really have, so we ended up going to a movie theater, about 10 of us. We bought a bottle of champagne, and halfway through we popped it open and drank it. And that was our premiere. The first premiere like movie that I ever worked on, actually. You know.
Well, Roger, I want to say thank you very much for coming back on and answering one of our listeners' questions. So, John from Minnesota, there you have it, right from Roger Chazon's mouth.
Yep.
Well, I love that movie Heavy Metal. It's like I said, it was so cool growing up. But it's shocked the hell out of me because, I saw it when I was, maybe like a teenager, early teens. And I was like, this ain't no Saturday morning cartoon.
No.
It's just one of those things.
I think it was really more, geared for young adults and adults.
Oh, totally, right? Totally. And so anyway, it was just very interesting. Anyway, we've got a bunch of things like Dave had mentioned. And by the way, I should be coming out there to see you over the next couple of weeks. So I hope to actually. Oh,
I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be cool. It's very rare that
we'll have to get dinner or lunch, whichever you're going to be able to squeeze in.
Oh, I'd love it. I love it so much. So we have the listener feedback we're going to get to in just a little bit, and I think we should just go ahead and roll into. Yes, I know. I need to get that film reel. I need to go back in a classic episode and actually lift it from a classic episode, Dave, so you don't feel bad with the cinema.
I really would like it.
So, Dave, what have you been watching this week?
Well, Aljon, I didn't really watch a tremendous amount this week, but I did see a movie called Nonas. Have you heard about this film?
No.
With Vince Vaughn?
You know what?
So,
I think I may have seen something. This is streaming, yes or no?
yeah. This is a Netflix movie.
That's right.
After losing his beloved mother, a man risks everything to honor her by opening an Italian restaurant with actual nonas, grandmothers, as the chefs. So this stars Vince Vaughn as that man who, throws caution to the wind to risk everything. He puts everything, every penny he has into opening a restaurant on Staten Island. And by the way, this is based on a true story. There is an actual restaurant in Staten Island where there are grandmothers that come in and cook in the kitchen. So, every night there's a different menu and different people cooking. This stars not only Vince Vaughn, but Susan Sarandon, Lorraine Bracco, Talia Shire, and the actual owner of the restaurant is in the movie, which is kind of neat. He has a very small part. This got 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb. 73% of people like this movie. I have to tell you, I really enjoyed this film a lot. I thought it was very well done. It's not a film that you would see in a theater. This is a great film to stream at home, and I highly recommend it. Talia Shire is fantastic, by the way, and so is Susan Sarandon. Lorraine Bracco is a little over the top for me, but that's all right. And Linda Cardellini,
I love her,
is in this as well. She's terrific. And Vince Vaughn, I love Vince Vaughn. I think he's great in everything I've seen him in.
Well, that's just good to know.
Yeah.
First of all, Linda Cardellini, she's great.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Talia Shire from Rocky, and it's so cool to see Adrian in another film. And that's great that she's getting back out there. I'm sorry I haven't been following Talia Shire's career after Rocky. That's great. And The Godfather.
Yeah, and she plays a terrific character.
Awesome.
So I highly recommend it. Go see this on Netflix, Nonas. Really well done.
Nice.
Then I found also on Netflix, I found a new series I started watching. It's called Department Q.
Okay.
Carl, a former top-rated detective, is racked with guilt following an attack that left his partner paralyzed and another policeman dead. On his return to work, Carl is assigned to a cold case that assumed his life. This stars Matthew Good. You may remember him from the Downton Abbey show. He was in that. He's a British actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. When you see his face, you recognize him right away. Kelly MacDonald is in this. Chloe Pereri. There's I think, a terrific cast. It is a really well done British crime thriller. And you can watch that on Netflix. It's got 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb, and 79% of people like this TV show who have seen it. I really like it. I think it's a terrific show. So check that out on Netflix. It's called Department Q. And then finally, Aljon, I was catching up on Daredevil over at Disney Plus. Daredevil Born Again, with Charlie Cox in the lead role as the blind lawyer who doubles as the Daredevil. This has Vincent D'Onofrio in it. Also, John Barenthal is in it as the Punisher, which is great. He's really, John Barenthal is fantastic. So Charlie Cox's character, Matt Murdock, finds himself on a collision course with Wilson Fisk, who's played by Vincent D'Onofrio, when their past identities begin to emerge. So this is, I think I may have mentioned this a few weeks ago. The first couple of episodes I felt were very slow, but it is now really picking up, and I think this has been really terrific. I'm looking forward to finishing this series. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has 87%. 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and 82% of people who saw this like it. I am liking it, Aljon.
Nice. I love it too. I think the
Yeah.
two of them have great chemistry, and it's funny because even when they're not, how far along have you gotten to this?
I think I am 6 episodes in.
You're right. Okay, good. I was gonna say because even when the two of them aren't on screen, the tension between the two of them, as these two kind of worlds collide, if you will, as they kind of converge, their separate storylines kind of converge upon themselves. It's palpable, and the tension is good. It's really good.
Yeah, and by the way, Tony Dalton is in this, and he played one of the villains in Breaking Bad. He was terrific. Also, I want to point out Michael Gandolfini, the son of
James Gandolfini from Sopranos. Yes.
Yeah, he's the son of James Gandolfini. Who was in The Sopranos. Michael Gandolfini plays like an aide to Wilson Fisk, the Vincent D'Onofrio character, who's now mayor of the city. It's got a terrific cast. I recommend it over on Disney Plus. So check that out. That's what I've been watching, Aljon. What have you been watching?
Well, I'm like you, of course. Daredevil's great, Dave. I love it, and I've also been in my. I had finished The Handmaid's Tale, and what a crazy ending for that show. It was crazy. Then so it's great. Once again, it sucked me in, and I believe that's it. That's at least I think that's it for Handmaid's Tale. And I will say this for Criminal Minds too. Criminal Minds is doing great. They're finally ratcheting back up in the action with they're finding the serial killer. So of course it's always great. And I saw this new show on Netflix. It's a new film called Fear Street, Prom Queen. And you remember during the pandemic, Fear Street had this trilogy of films that take place in that Shadyside city, that town of Shadyside. And now Shadyside, once again, the evil is kind of lurking. It's kind of like, you remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer and their town? It was kind of like Hellmouth, it's like everything demonic started coming up from that city for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's the same thing with this particular town. The quiet town of Shadyside, and their high schools preparing for prom when the it girls suddenly start disappearing, and a gusty outsider discovers she's in for one hell of a prom night. So as they set up this show, it is set in 1989 prom night. So all automatically, Dave, the stage has been set. They're getting ready for prom. And as you know, if they're setting up for prom, you know that the final scene is going to be prom. And it is crazy, bloody, madness ensuing. But one of the greatest things about this is the foreshadowing and the storytelling that they do with the needle drops. James Gunn is very fond of the needle drops in Guardians of the Galaxy. When he plays a song, it kind of is a great interlude and a storytelling device to move the plot forward with the songs and the action and the storytelling that is involved. And the same goes for this particular film. And the soundtrack is great. The cast of youngsters is also very cool. You have India Fowler as Laurie Granger. A lot of these names are basically hearkening back to the 80s slasher films that that series is known for, kind of paying homage to. Susan Sun plays Megan Rogers. Fina Straza plays Tiffany Falconer. So there's a bunch of like it girls. Lily Taylor plays VP Dolores Breckenridge. Chris Klein, who I didn't even realize that was Chris Klein as Dan Falconer. And Ariana Greenblatt, who played Ahsoka, the young Ahsoka, and the young Gamora in some of the Disney Plus and Marvel and Star Wars things, plays Christy Renault. So she's in it as well. So there's a bunch of known and unknown young actors and in this. And I will say that it's fun. Okay, if you're tuning into to this as a slasher horror, supernatural horror fan, all of the tropes are there. They do it as like a love letter to horror fans everywhere. This is also based on the book series Fear Street by R.L. Stine, and maybe R.L. Stine you'll know from the book series Goosebumps and the TV and movie series that are there. It's kind of like a young person series of horror films. So there's a lot of that. R.L. Stine's kind of books for Fear Street is kind of like a teen angst version of I don't know, kind of like Creepshow, you know? So I think if you're into and R.L. Stine having this sense of humor, it's so funny. There's the funny moments that are there because as all this slasher stuff happens, you know, there's some humor and wit that's in it to kind of break that tension and the jaw-dropping moments that happen there, because these people are completely oblivious. The adults are the ones that are oblivious in this. The adults are like, no, let's just go on and put these kids in detention, even though there's a murderer happening. You know, it's like
and buckets of blood being
and buckets
thrown
of
all over
blood.
the
Exactly
place.
right. You know it, Dave. So once again, this is just popcorn fun entertainment. It scores kind of like a fair to midland review for me. You know, 5 or 6 out of 10 as a popcorn film. It's fun in all the right places. The acting is fun. And it is basically what you would expect from a Netflix series, movie style, you know. So good marks for Fear Queen Prom Street. Anyway, gang, that's what we've been watching. What have you been watching? Let us know, and we'll probably review it and give our feedback in a future episode.
Skull Rock Podcast. This week in Disney and pop culture.
Well, Dave, the summertime is heating up. Movie trailers are coming out everywhere. Dave, I've been kind of obsessed watching the superhero films duke it out over the trailers. The new Superman trailers have been coming out. Fantastic Four coming out. So both of them coming out in July 11th for Superman, July 25th for Fantastic Four First Steps. And I am optimistic. I am optimistic about these films because these kind of Mission Impossible big, you know, action, adventure, superhero, blockbuster franchises bring people to the movie theater. And I'm excited and hopeful that these things will kind of right set the franchises for DC and Marvel both.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that this is going to be a really good summer of film. I think it started off that way. I thought the Thunderbolts were terrific. The Mission Impossible movie is just off the charts. I highly recommend our listeners go see it in a movie theater on a big screen. It is a fantastic film.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you know, because we're talking about blockbusters, you know, Karate Kid Legends is getting kicked around the box office with Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible. Just a really quick on the returns. Sony is predicting third place opening for Karate Kid, eyeing about 21 million to 23 million range. And then, and which is kind of cool because I actually have this on my list to see, even though it's kind of got mixed reviews. Karate Kid Legends is, of course, the return of Ralph Macchio, kind of in a supporting role to Jackie Chan, and the Karate Kid we shall not name because it was kind of like one of the lamest ones, in my opinion, of the Karate Kid franchise. Not because of Jackie Chan, but because of Will Smith's kid. Not a big fan of that. Jaden Smith. But it looks like they've got some new blood coming into this franchise with Karate Kid Legends. And of course, Ming-Na is in it as well. And what is it Ming-Na in that she hasn't been amazing in, right? So that's going to be good to see. And then, of course, you see here the Lilo and Stitch film that has also been getting mixed reviews as well. We're going to talk about that later. And of course, Mission Impossible kicking butt at the box office with what, 122 to 128 million dollars basically. And Lilo and Stitch opening to nearly $183 million domestically, probably going to eye around 280 million, which is not bad at all. This is pretty good for them, right, Dave?
No. I listen. It's a you know, a hit out of the park, so to speak. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, there's also some things bubbling up about the movie, so we'll see if it has legs. Certainly, Mission Impossible, I think, will.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and again, see it on an IMAX screen if you can.
Yeah, and the other trailers that have coming out, Dave, I know that the Elio film with Disney Pixar is going to be released June 20th. It looks very interesting. Once again, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yep.
Dave, you saw the Naked Gun trailer with Liam Neeson.
I did. I saw the Naked Gun trailer. It was hilarious, with Liam Neeson. I just laughed. It's got Liam Neeson in it. Listen, I will watch Liam Neeson mow my front lawn. Okay.
He's got a certain set of skills.
Yeah. And so I am going to go see that because it just looked funny.
I tell you, the other thing I'm looking forward to, Dave, you know me in horror movies. I Know What You Did Last Summer is coming back July 18th to theaters in the new reboot, if you will. The Conjuring, Last Rites in September, that kind of closes things out. And, I did you see the Tron Ares trailer? Did you happen to see that?
No, I haven't seen that one yet. No.
Well, that's coming out in October. It looks really good. And then Freakier Friday, another big one for Disney as well, as Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan on her comeback trail. I think it's going to be great.
Know something? I did see that trailer, and it looks really good.
It looks great. I hope they just deliver. They don't have to do much. All they have to do is deliver the laughs that the two of them actually have a great chemistry. Happy Gilmore 2 looks interesting as well. July 25th. Looking forward to seeing a big movie from Adam Sandler because he had that big contract with Netflix. So he's been doing so many Netflix, direct to Netflix films as of late, but I'm looking forward to seeing him on the,
and by the way, the trailer for that has dropped. So people should check that out.
Absolutely. It's fun stuff. And Dave, you even mentioned something interesting, which was Wednesday had a really nice trailer that came out. And I'm looking forward to this character. I'm just hoping that, some of the original cast come back and that they strike gold again this next season.
Yeah, season 2 looks really great. They dropped the trailer a couple weeks ago, but they've also dropped a new trailer, which is 6 minutes.
Oh.
A 6-minute trailer. That's like a short film.
Crazy.
People could check that out. But certainly Wednesday was a great first season. I'm looking forward to season 2.
Dave, are you looking forward to seeing this blockbuster Jurassic World Rebirth with Scarlett Johansson?
I saw the trailer on an IMAX screen, and it actually looks really good.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I mean, they just keep milking that franchise, but this particular the trailer I watched, the film looks good. I want to go see it.
Who knew that 30 years ago plus we would be talking about cloning and DNA sequencing and bringing back extinct species, but we're actually doing it in the year 2025, Dave.
Yeah, they are actually doing it. It's kind of crazy.
I thought it was fake news. I thought,
but something's going to go awry at some point.
The dire wolves are going to come back and eat us, Dave.
Yeah,
now I'm liking this. The world of John Wick is expanding with Ballerina. Did you happen to see this trailer with John Wick? Are you a big fan of John Wick?
I have seen this, and I'm planning on seeing the film next weekend.
Yeah, June 6th coming out.
Yeah.
The kids are really hyped about this. How to Train Your Dragon had come out with a live action remake. Right? It's kind of like live action CGI, much like Lilo and Stitch. And this with the new How to Train Your Dragon world over there at Universal, man, that looks amazing, Dave. I'm looking forward to this. Anything else maybe you're looking forward to seeing in the
I saw the Frankenstein trailer. I don't know if we were going to talk about that or not, but Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, he's reimagined the Frankenstein movie. And who's it?
Oscar Isaac.
Excuse me. Thank you. Oscar Isaac stars as Victor Frankenstein.
Great.
Yeah, and Oscar Isaac is a great actor.
I
mean, he's
Oscar
terrific.
Isaac.
I'm actually looking forward to this remake of Frankenstein.
Man, it's going to be great, man. We're going to keep you up to date. Of course, Dave is always in the theater, and we're always watching recent news about Chris Hemsworth. Dave, did you happen to see his social media? He posted this thank you to the fans about loving the Thor character, and he's kind of bidding everybody a farewell, if you will. Now, I don't know if a lot of our listeners have known this, but Chris Hemsworth gives an updated hospital visit and tragic diagnosis. He was diagnosed with a rare health condition. I guess it's stemming from Alzheimer's or something of that nature. I believe.
Is it early onset Alzheimer's?
That's what it is. He wrote, shout out to the team at Mermaid Beach Radiology for delivering world-class imaging. Apparently he's got a lot of health concerns and issues. It says here from Chris Hemsworth, whole team at Mermaid Beach Radiology for delivering world-class medical imaging right here on the Gold Coast. Prevention better than cure when it comes to staying on top of your health. And it's a preventative medicine, early detection, and his rare health condition. It says that he's likely to develop Alzheimer's as compared to the general population. So he's got, I guess, this early onset Alzheimer diagnosis, and he was trying to wind down some of the stuff from his career. And according to some reports from Digital Spy UK, it says MCU fans, after he posted that as well as a trailer on his own YouTube page, he thinks Thor will die in Avengers Doomsday after an emotional Chris Hemsworth tribute, paying tribute to the legacy of Thor. Dave, what do you think about this? You think they're going to kill off his character?
First off, I don't think they're going to kill off Thor. Well, I just don't think you can do that. Maybe you can. What do you think? I mean, you're more into this, MCU universe than I am.
I don't think they're gonna. Yeah, I
don't think you can kill a character like that. That's kind of crazy. You're not going to kill a franchise.
No, I don't think they're going to kill a franchise. They might recast. I mean, I think
they might recast, but it might be, let some time pass.
Yeah,
and then reboot it.
And it's a shame because people really love Thor, and Chris Hemsworth has been on record over the past few years saying he would like to commit to Thor as long as they'll keep casting him and putting him in these films. And I think that's a great attitude to have because the fans love Thor. The fans love Chris Hemsworth, period. And I think that he is a beloved character, much like Robert Downey, much like Chris Evans, much like Scarlett Johansson. And I think the people are going to just, and of course, Jeremy Renner, all the original Avengers people just love, and they love to see them together. So I hope that they find a way to make it happen. And I hope that he's able to be healthy and be happy, which is the most important part, because I think the fans want him to just have fun and enjoy the rest of his life. So we'll see what happens. I was kind of shocked, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I tell you what's also shocking in a different way is that the Jaws 50th anniversary documentary set for summer release on National Geographic, Disney Plus, and Hulu. Dave, 50 years of Jaws. Steven Spielberg going to be taking part in this definitive inside story of Jaws. Music with John Williams, of course. Filmmaker Laurent Bourgeau is the filmmaker who's going to be exploring the troubleshoot, its groundbreaking release, and the ripple effects the movie had in the industry and beach culture. I remember seeing this as a little kid. My parents also were one of those parents that would watch those type of films with me and not just have me watch it by myself because I would be scarred for life. But what do you think about 50 years of Jaws, Dave?
It's amazing. It's part of the it's part of our pop culture lexicon. The John Williams bum 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 bum. I mean, it's just fantastic, right?
It is.
I'll be interested to see this 50th anniversary documentary. It should be really fun to see the behind the scenes. And I grew up on Long Island, so this is taking place in the fictional town of Amity. Yeah. Well, I grew up next to Amityville, and I forget where they shot this. Was it Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, the point being is that every summer there were sharks. There were big great white sharks, out in the waters off of Long Island. I remember an aerial photograph, and this has to be 30, 40 years ago, an aerial photograph of, it was a 25-foot great white next to a boat, and it made the fishing boat, it like dwarfed the fishing boat. So it was
Right.
kind of crazy.
Well,
So
they say here, and by the way, I met Richard Dreyfuss in Las Vegas briefly, and he's quoted as being taking part in this document, recalling the months long location shoot, and as you mentioned, Martha's Vineyard.
yeah.
Quote, there were all these radio mics all over the island. So wherever you were on the island, you could hear radio mics. They were always saying, the shark's not working. The shark's not working. Repeat, the shark is not working. No matter where you were.
They had so many problems with that mechanical shark.
They really did. But you know what? It made for a better shoot because there's no... The best horror is the stuff that you can think in your own mind, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
just the theater of the mind, the suspension of disbelief kind of took over.
Less is more.
Less is more.
You
You're right.
don't need to see that much of the shark to be terrified.
Production designer Joe Alves is in there. Also, Carl Gottlieb is in there. Jordan Peele, Steven Soderbergh, James Cameron, Cameron Crowe, Emily Blunt, Greg Nicotero, J.J. Abrams, George Lucas, and Guillermo del Toro all taking part. This is going to be great. You're going to be seeing this documentary. Jaws 50 is going to come to Disney Plus Hulu streaming on July.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and speaking of being in theaters, Lilo and Stitch live action ignites debate over harmful changes to the original story. This is part of what we alluded to, and Dave, you were talking about how the ending contributes to the narrative displacement of Hawaiians from ancestral lands, and of course, adoption and foster care. We had not seen it, but I'd already heard of them kind of changing things up with Lilo and Stitch.
Why?
Yeah.
That's all I have to say is why.
Why?
You know what? If you're a director, you get hired to remake a Disney animated film, just stick to the script. Don't go change it because you think you're some sort of auteur artist, who, really is going to make their mark. This is a remake, for crying out loud. Just remake it. We talked about this last week, Aljon. Jon Favreau remade The Lion King. He stuck to the film.
Yes.
The original film. He stuck to more or less the Jungle Book.
Mm-hmm.
When he did the remake of that. When you go off the original story, you're just gonna get your head handed to you.
This is why. Well, the expectations are you go to the theater to see the remake of what you already know. It's not like Maleficent, where you're taking a character and then making a branch storyline from it.
Yeah, a new story, which was fine. It was terrific.
And same goes for the Mad Hatter, right? And Alice in Wonderland when Tim Burton was doing that stuff. This is different. When you're remaking it, all you had to do, we say you had one job, director, and instead I see the press junkets of these people, the director and writer saying, oh, we wanted to modernize it for a new audience. Well, that's where you messed up. But I will reserve my comment and the review when I actually see the film, hopefully this, Dave, and I look forward to seeing your take on this. Because they said, of course, Lilo and the older sister Nani bonded over the concept of Ohana. And of course, spoilers ahead, there are things that change, especially toward the read that. Many of us are going to watch it. Let's talk about something better. Let's talk about Stranger Things, Dave. I was talking about that Fear Street and the 80s nostalgia. Well, Stranger Things and the final season has been revealed. The dates are here. The kids are all grown, Dave. That's kind of what trips me out about this.
Yeah.
These kids are all grown up, and it will debut November 26th. So you're going to see that. And then November 26th, and then the series finale on New Year's. Can you believe that, Dave?
Hey, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice to see it wrapped up.
Yeah. 3 parts. First, November 25th, followed by part 2 on Christmas, and the series finale New Year's Eve. That's exactly what. Of course, everyone's coming back. You're going to see Phil Wolford, Caleb McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp, and then also you're going to see who else is in here? I'm going back. So everybody's back. So that's going to be great on this as well. Millie Bobby Brown, of course, is 11. Going on this, David Harbour, Winona Ryder is in this as well. I think over the years we've come to know and love this cast of characters. And I will say, I was just telling Kristen, we were talking about how we kind of survived the pandemic. We were very blessed to live through it. but these characters kind of helped a lot of people get through that pandemic. People were watching Stranger Things, and it's amazing to me, now that we're on the other side of this, and then we see all these kids grow up, like what happened? Like all these kids have grown up and they look so, they're so old now, Dave.
Time marches on.
Time marches on, man. It's unbelievable, but I'm looking forward to Stranger Things 4. Let us look into, man, Dave, I have to tell you, you sent me a huge list.
They were dropping like flies last week.
They really were.
Obituary roll call.
Oh, Dave, it's a huge list this week. We're gonna fly through it. James Eachin of Tenafly and Perry Mason Telefilms dies at the age of 94. A lot of people know this actor's face, maybe not know the name, because I know I wasn't familiar with the name, but man, he was in everything.
Back in the 70s, 80s, even the early 90s, you saw him all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And oftentimes he played a cop.
Yeah, he did. And he wrote and produced songs for Otis Redding. I didn't know that. He portrayed cops on his own, NBC Mystery, and movie series. He was a familiar character that played on Clint Eastwood's Coogan's Bluff, 1968, Play Misty for Me, Every Which Way But Loose, and Sudden Impact in 1983. And then All in the Family aficionados know him for his turns as IRS tax examiner who won't be bribed on the 1972 episode of Archie's Fraud. And Carol he worked with Carol O'Connor there as well, in Archie Bunker's Place and different things like that. So he's just been in everything, including
again, a familiar face people would see. He had an incredible career and leaves behind a wonderful body of work. You'll see him in reruns and when you rewatch movies from the past.
Well, also someone from our past, Anna Hartman, Dan August and Terminal Island actress, dies at the age of 93. Wow, another long life. And once again, a contract player for NBC, was on the big screen in Our Man Flint games and Airport. I remember Airport growing up. Of course, Anna Hartman, a pioneering black actress who had a regular role opposite Burt Reynolds on the 1970-71 ABC cop show Dan August, had passed away. She was 93.
It's wonderful to see people living long lives and having incredible careers.
100%. Valerie Mahaffey, actress on Northern Exposure, Desperate Housewives, and Young Sheldon, dies at 71. Once again, you know her face for sure.
This was sad. 71. I mean, that's young.
She passed away from a battle with cancer, her publicist Jillian Roscoe announced. She's been in a lot of different TV and films, such as Northern Exposure. She's most known
very
for.
Recognizable actress.
Someone that I know growing up, Loretta Swit, Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan on MASH, dies at 87. And has there been another TV show that has had the long-lasting impression on people than MASH? I mean, it was the #1 most rated series finale of all time. MASH, 87. And she's been in a lot of shows too, Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah, she was one of the original cast members. I mean, just part of the pop culture icon.
Absolutely. I mean, who could forget Hot Lips Houlihan, for sure.
Yeah.
And then Alf Clausen, Emmy-winning composer for The Simpsons, passes away at 84. Wow. After moonlighting in Alf, he worked on Fox shows for 27 years and then filed a lawsuit for his dismissal. And this guy has done so many TV shows.
Well, he did 550 Simpson episodes. Can you imagine that? And by the way, I met Alf Clausen.
You did?
Mark Waters, who's a composer who's been a guest on our show.
Yes.
Mark introduced me to Alf at some event somewhere many years ago.
Oh.
Alf, he was one of the nicest guys. I chatted with him for a little bit. It was coincidental, by the way, that his first name is Alf, and he was the composer on the Alf TV show, if you remember that.
I do.
Sitcom with the alien puppet.
I love it. Alf loves cats.
Alf.
Right?
So
I can't believe it.
But yeah, wonderful guy. And they kind of pushed him out, and he filed a lawsuit against Disney and Fox. After Disney bought Fox, which owned The Simpsons.
It's so strange why people do that. I mean, a lot of these composers, have been doing this for many years, and they literally are the breath that keeps those shows going. In my opinion, I mean, the music is just goes hand in hand with some of these series as well.
Well,
as
the other
animation.
interesting thing is that Danny Elfman did the original Simpsons theme song, but Alf Clausen was the composer who did all the music cues throughout all those episodes.
Yeah.
And when you watch The Simpsons, more often than not, you'll see Alf Clausen's name in the credits. 550 episodes, holy mackerel! I mean, it's like something like 28 seasons or something.
Yeah.
That he worked on the show. Anyway, they after he filed the lawsuit, they quietly settled the thing for an undisclosed sum of money, for it to go away.
Well, good. I'm not going to mention any more about that, but Alf, man.
Yeah.
Well,
nice
prolific.
guy, very nice guy. And it was sad to see this,
This just
what an incredible career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The music lives on. This just in, Devin Hajarez from Boardwalk Empire, Daredevil, and Gotham passes away at the age of 4. So sad, Dave. An actor known for his work on Manifest, Boardwalk Empire, and Daredevil, and shows that I've seen them all, passed away Tuesday in his New York City home at the age of 41, diagnosed with cancer in February. He had a brief illness and passed away. Oh, how sad.
What was his last name?
Devin Hajarez. And this just came in several minutes ago. This is reported by the Hollywood Reporter. And Hajarez has worked on TV, appearing as Jack Dempsey in Boardwalk Empire on HBO Max. In the comic book world, he played Oscar, a nurse who worked at Rikers Island in Marvel's Daredevil, and Clyde, a guard who worked in a bank in DC's Gotham. He's also known for Orange is the New Black, Blue Bloods, Elementary, Rebel, Rye Boys of Summer, Forest is Red, and When the Shadow Falls. This guy has had a very short time on the small screen on TV, but man, what a career. So unfortunate.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very sad.
It is. Well, now, gang, let's buckle up for part 3. Jim Hillin is back in the hot seat talking about animation and visual effects. Let's check out our latest installment with Jim Hillin right here on Skull Rock Podcast.
Let's do it.
Skull Rock Podcast. Interview time.
Well, Aljon, here we are again for week 3 with visual effects supervisor Jim Hillin. And Jim, welcome back to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Thanks, David. Just really nice to be chatting with you about all these things.
Well, it's what I love about these conversations, Jim, is the fact that we just take our time, and I think our listeners appreciate it because they're like a fly on the wall for these conversations,
Sure.
Last week we kind of started talking about you coming back to Disney, working on Dinosaur. You were talking about how you used the particle system software Prisms over at Digital Domain.
Right.
And you wanted to use Houdini.
Yeah.
We had that conversation.
Right.
Let's kind of pick up there because in those early years, I kind of feel like there was tension about what type of software could be used at particular shops. Am I right on that?
Well, I don't know about particular shops or not. I know it seemed to be that, if whatever the best tools were available for a particular kind of work were the tools that everyone was using. There were some tools that were older than others. Maya Alias had been around for a long time. And so as a result, a lot of people used that. Prisms was my understanding is that it had come from the, company in Canada that went bankrupt in 1987, along with so many other companies that had software, and Side Effects was created out of the sales of computers and disks and such that happened after that company went bankrupt and had its sale of items, as bankruptcies go. And two of the engineers that had worked there knew which disk and which computers stuff had been on. So they bought the appropriate things, now owned whatever was on it, and started Side Effects software. And that's where Prisms and eventually Houdini grew out of all of that.
Right. And I know, like at Disney, because I had been there consistently through that period of time, I know that they just wanted to be a one software shop. Like we have this software, these.
Yeah, I get it. It's understandable because when you look at someone who has to support all this stuff for the various productions and artists and needs of different kinds of shows, suddenly it becomes, if you say that it's like, well, this tool is available and this tool is available and this tool is available, now we're going to add a fourth one. Suddenly it's not easy. It's another 100% on top of all the other 100% you'd been supporting with the other three. And so having enough engineers to do that support and how much it was needed, it was always just a tough way to try to figure out, is it really needed? Can we do it any other way? How can we support it? Do we have the budget to be able to expand the engineers that are going to be involved in production because we're going to need more engineers to do the support. So that was I'm sure all the considerations of people at the time.
But that was technology trying to lead art, and we were on the other side where it was art trying to lead the technology, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say that with my managerial hat on, as far as understanding the arguments. But if you want a tool and it's the tool that you need, you gave a perfect example of some things that you did for Fantasia. That was the perfect thing to do. You proved its worth to the people who could make a difference.
Yeah, and just so our listeners know, last week I mentioned the fact that when we were working on the Firebird sequence for Fantasia 2000, the particle system module in Maya just was not where it needed to be for the type of work we wanted to do. And so I asked for the Houdini licenses and got the flat out no, but then convinced them. This was really what was so great was I convinced them to let me have some evaluation copies. And I think they looked at me as just a numbskull artist who wouldn't know what the hell to do with that. And I loved it. I had that, I projected a sense of, well, he's not going to be able to do anything with it. And so let's just give him the eval copy. And I turned around and hired a guy in from the outside who was an expert in Houdini already.
Right.
And we set out to do the animation test, which we did, and showed it to the directors, Paul and Gaetan Brizzi, and they loved it. They threw their hands up. They said, "Dave, we love this. We love this," And that was that we had set the look for the Spring Sprite character,
right,
which is what we used the Houdini software on. And at that point, nobody could say no. They had to get the licenses for us to do it. So sometimes you just have to kind of push forward through those no's,
Yeah.
Because it really was about getting the best thing on screen that you possibly could do. So anyway, but those were some of the hurdles early on in the digital transition that was going on.
Right. No, I remember we had a similar thing at Digital Domain when we started that. And we had a group of people who were going to be creating a lot of tools that we know we needed to write because they just didn't exist. And they were our core engineering group. And then what we did from that core engineering group is with the production and the head of engineering meeting, we could say that, hey, we're going to be doing this, but this show needs this particular tool, which is going to influence this set of tools. So let's take an engineer who's familiar with those set of tools, put them on the show for an extended period of time so they can get the tools written and then fold it back into the core technology. And that sort of flex engineering coming in and out of production was something that I think that company still does today. So
yeah,
just a really nice idea.
Talk a little bit more about the Dinosaur project that you were, because you had come back from Digital Domain to Disney to work on Dinosaur. You were the visual effects supervisor. You were the lighting supervisor. You wore multiple hats on that project.
I did. I was a lighting supervisor and a comp supervisor in the final list of things that I had to do every day. The other thing was there wasn't a head of effects animation, and so I had to wear that hat as well.
Yeah, and how was it kind of going back and forth between those roles? What were some of the challenges that you faced?
Well, most of it, I sort of separated the effects animation into a group of its own. There were like 7 people in a room in Northside, and they were my animation guys. And I just sort of said, okay, you're going to be in charge of the meteors that fall. You're going to be in charge of like weather. You're going to be in charge of wind, and you're going to be in charge of water. And so I sort of broke them out that way, and each of them developed tools that could be used right out of Maya, that could be put into those kind of effects as well. Had to be done by just a single person, developed for a long time, and then it became a tool that anyone could use.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of R&D going on in that building, and I just want to remind our listeners, because I think I mentioned it in one of our previous conversations, but the North Side facility was a building that was the old Lockheed Skunk Works,
yes,
up by the Burbank Airport, and it was a building that Disney had occupied for a number of years, and the dinosaur production was there, as well as some development people that were working on some other projects, and the Fantasia team,
right.
Fantasia 2000 team. So it was really, I always felt a little bit of a kinship to the history of the Skunk Works, because there was a lot of R&D going on in that building on an animation front.
Oh yeah, a lot of new things that were happening under the hat, as it were.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what was your overall experience on Dinosaur? What did you think of the project while you were working on it, and ultimately how it was received?
Well, I was pretty excited working on it because we had so many departments that were taking care of and ownership on certain things, like just the department that had to get all of the cameras ready from the live action that was shot. So we had to get virtual cameras created for every scene, every shot, from the plates that we were using that were cut in for the backgrounds. And then in some cases where we really never got what we needed for a background shot in a particular scene, we could create things from other photography, even still photography, and then project it onto CG. We're using lots of 2D, 3D techniques to make backgrounds work for us.
So you were using like billboards that you would project layers onto that you could move through?
Right, and we're projecting sometimes, down the frustum of the camera. It's moving live action footage, but it had to be at a slightly different angle or further away than it was originally shot, and so we had to do all kinds of things to get that to work. Sometimes it was a compositing fix, and sometimes it was a CG fix, where we would just rebuild a scene entirely from scratch.
They had shot some ridiculous amount of live action footage, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did. I don't remember how many millions of feet it was, but it was quite a bit.
Yeah, it was like an insane amount. Did they ever decide to have to go back out someplace to do reshoots, or was it just like they did all the shooting and this is what you have to work with, and if it's not there, create something?
Yeah, it seems to me like there was some short thing that was reshot toward the end of the film, because I know there was a review of the film at one point where I guess the note that came back to us is that the film's too dark. Right? No, there's too many nighttime shots. And so they wanted to take the nighttime shots, or a percentage of the nighttime shots, and move them forward in time to be like it's like gloaming or something. It's like the sun has gone beyond the horizon, but it's still light out. That kind of day for night type thing. And so we ended up taking about, I think it was like 20% of the film, and redoing the shots so that it was just a different time of day.
So that was a lighting fix, a digital lighting fix. Were you doing sky replacements and things like that?
Well, yeah, we had to find skies for things that would work that would have just been black in the previous version of it.
Yeah. And what did you think of the film when it was getting near completion? Was there excitement about it? And what did you think of how it was received by the public?
Well, actually, I don't necessarily have a great feel for how it was received by the public. I think 300 million is what it made at the worldwide box office, something like that, and which was a nice number. It wasn't a failure. I know there were some people that had the idea that the film cost a lot more than it did. It was actually cost less than Tarzan to make, and so there was this feeling like that it hadn't made its money back, but it actually did. But the story was up and down as far as like, okay, are we in a comedy buddy movie, or are we on an adventure with dinosaurs? Where are we? And there was sort of a couple of directions that, the leads were going on with things. And I think I'm not really sure how well that got pulled off.
So, I mean, it felt like, at least from my outside view of it while it was in production, it felt like exactly what you said. The story kind of shifted back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of story issues with it.
I think toward the end, they were just trying to patch up some of the character development with humor. and
Yeah.
how well that worked.
Yeah, but like you said, the film did over 300 million worldwide.
Yep.
So it wasn't a failure, and it's also available on Disney Plus, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
So
what I was just really proud of the work that we did on the visual effects end of things, because basically the whole movie, all whatever it was, 1,400 shots of it is a visual effect in just about every shot. So it was live action backgrounds, and we had to put our CG characters into it and make them meld with whatever lighting and dust, the storm, and whatever else was happening, and get them to interact with live action water. When it was a difficult thing to do in 1995 when we sort of set our technology in place.
right, and to me, that look, it was groundbreaking for the time.
Yes, definitely.
Every single shot was a visual effects shot in the movie, which is probably not uncommon today, right? I mean,
oh yeah, it ends up being much more like that with visual effects movies.
yeah.
There's
So
a
yeah,
few
like
last years.
any Marvel movie would.
Oh yeah,
would be like that.
Yeah, everything gets touched.
What did you go on to after you finished Dinosaur?
Let me think. I had been a screenwriter since 1987. I went on to do development at Disney Animation as a writer-director for about 6 months.
Right.
So yeah, I think Paul and Gatan were like a couple of doors down from me, and the guy who had been, gosh, I can't remember all the people now. Anyway, there was a lot going on. The first time I'd been in the development department.
Wasn't the Wildlife in production or in development?
Yeah, Wildlife was in production. I'm not sure where it was, whether it was in Northside or whether it was in the Hat Building, but I know that it was in production for a while, and I kept hearing rumors of like, oh, they had a screening and this happened, and a screening and that happened, and this kind of thing. So, and then eventually it got stopped. So all of the technology we had used for Dinosaur was pretty much wrapped up with that project, and I'm not sure how much of our technology survived beyond that picture being canceled.
Before we move on, I do want to clarify something about Dinosaur.
Yes.
It made 349.8 million at the box office.
Okay,
they claim that the budget was 127.5, but you can never know if that's a real number or not.
Sure. Well, yeah. So I just remember that it was, there was headlines in some of the trades like most expensive movie ever made, blah blah blah, and I was like, we knew that wasn't true in house, so I just remember it hitting the trades like that.
Yeah. You said something very interesting when you were talking about you didn't know how much of your technology survived onto some of these other development projects that were in development that would have utilized it. Can you talk a little bit about, I've always been under the impression and witnessed, technology gets developed on one picture and then it somehow seems to almost die or, gets changed significantly onto the next project, because it seems like there was always a software engineer who I remember this with crowd software, and it was always like the next picture there'd be a new tech lead, and he'd be, I could write a better crowd software than they used on that last picture. Can you talk a little bit about why some of that technology sort of goes by the wayside?
Well, I can only refer to the time I was there. I don't know what happens every time, but we were. Let's see. I think what was the name of the company? DreamWorks had been acquired during Mighty Joe Young.
Oh, DreamQuest.
DreamQuest. I'm sorry.
DreamQuest
had been acquired during Mighty Joe Young and brought into the building under the auspices of. What was it called?
The Secret Lab.
Secret Lab. That's right. Yeah. And they were getting ready to start their next couple of projects. One of them being the live action 101 Dalmatians. And so I had people coming into my office. I was still wrapping up the last 6 months of Dinosaur, and I had people coming to my office almost daily asking about, well, you guys don't have any tools that do this, and I'm like, yeah, we do. It's right here, And I would show it to them on my screen. They go, well, how do I get those things? Well, so you have to load in the proper modules into the lighting tool, and then you get all of the Dinosaur tools. And he goes, well, and it would just storm out of my office all ticked off because someone hasn't told him this before. And I was like, it seemed like there was a lot of communication issues with getting new projects starting up. They would say, oh, they made this thing called Light Tool. It's really great. And they would look at it and go, there's like nothing there. And I would, well, yeah, you got to load the right tool set. And I would write it down on a napkin and like hand it to the guy. And he'd run off and
Wow.
try to figure out if that was on his show or not. Because sometimes for it to be on the show, you had to request the module, and otherwise it wouldn't be there even to load up because you'd have a different operating system environment.
Right, and that was the other issue, was the operating systems would be changing on a regular basis.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff would have to be essentially updated.
Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, if it was close enough, it would just be like whatever we call it. Darn it! Sorry, my brain today. Anyway, it would just be a recompile of the tool set, and you would have it available to you. So it's not that big of a deal, but still, someone would have to talk to someone and say, "It's here. You recompile like this, and here's all of our docs and such." I mean. But what happens a lot of times, I think people would, if someone had come in and talked to me, they would have never known what you needed to use to do dinosaur work.
Yeah, and then you'd have people essentially developing tools that already exist for their show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's costing the same amount of money one more time.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of crazy. I mean, there was a lot of that kind of waste that went on during that period, and I think it was just...
I think some of it is just the lack of understanding of what it takes to manage this kind of a pipeline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make sure that the tool set gets passed on, even if they don't need it. Just here it is,
Right. So everybody
make sure that it's
aware of it.
Yeah, and make sure that it's documented for everybody so they know what it does, where it is, and how to do it.
Right. So you went in and you were doing some screenwriting, developing a project.
Yeah, I think I pitched 5 projects while I was there for 6 months. I can't remember exactly, like 3 different movies, and I pitched a song sequence for Don Hahn. Don Hahn had this thing he was trying to get going with a new Fantasia, which would use all American composers and songwriters to do the music for the film. And so I pitched a Bobby McFerrin sequence, and it was about a lizard in the desert who loves sleeping on hot rocks, but then a big storm comes through the desert. And he has to deal with all of the results of the big storm coming through, and spring coming early, and flora and fauna coming up out of the ground, and just crazy stuff for him. So his nice day of having a vacation sort of gets ruined,
And what happened with some of these projects? They just didn't get traction.
Well, Don liked my pitch, and so he accepted it as part of his project. And then it's just a matter of seeing if that ever gets done. Yeah. And then the other things, all kinds of things like, don't see a movie here. You get all kinds of feedback, from things that you're working on, trying to get things going. Because for me, and being in that position at that time, I knew what was happening outside, or inside the building with projects, and there were a lot of people who were getting ready to lose their jobs because there wasn't a project to move on to. Especially after what was the name of the project we were talking about earlier?
Dinosaur?
No, not Dinosaur. The one that came after that. Sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but something. Wildlife. Right?
Oh yeah, Wildlife was tanked.
Right, Wildlife got tanked, and so I knew that a bunch of people were getting ready to lose their jobs. So I was really kind of motivated, to really do a lot of stuff as fast as I could. Say, well, you don't like that? Okay, here's another one. That kind of thing. So I was pitching something about every 4 or 5 weeks.
Right, and I think also at that point there was the rumblings of the digital transition that was going to really happen. When Fantasia 2000 was finished, when Dinosaur was finished, you had, I think, Chicken Little was in development, which was going to be...
There was also, what was the Western with the cows?
Yeah, it was Sweating Bullets,
Sweating Bullets, right.
Yeah. And so there was impending doom on the horizon, because there was going to be a mass layoff at some point,
right?
Which I think happened, if I'm not mistaken, was around 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm sure somebody will correct me when this drops on the air.
Well, yeah, by then I'd started working at Sony Pictures ImageWorks.
Right.
And I think
so you left Disney. So
I left Disney.
The development stuff wasn't happening. Did you jump ship before you got the axe, or did you get the axe?
No, I did my 6 months there that they gave me, and did the best I could, but couldn't get any traction or anything to go right away. So then it was a matter of, okay, well, what's next? And like I said, I've been a writer for a while after that, so I kept writing for about 18 months, trying to make a go of that. Ended up doing a bunch of pitches with my former mentor, Sid Field. And so we went around and pitched a project together, which was a blast and a half, because just the name being mentioned, that Sid Field's coming by to pitch a movie was taken very well, shall we say. And so I was his writing partner at the time, so it was big fun. Awesome. And then I got back into bringing in money to the house. And so that was going on to Sony Pictures ImageWorks. And I think the first thing I worked on was Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Tobey Maguire, the second one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I had done a little work on the first one.
Oh, cool. Well, it was a blast. The visual effects supervisor was a guy that I'd worked with years before in the 80s on a TV show called Doing Time on Planet Earth. And so he was there getting this movie finished up. And I think I came in probably maybe we had like 6 or 8 months left to finish the movie. And so I was just taking shots and finishing them and taking shots and finishing them. And it was a gas.
That was Sam Raimi directed.
Yep.
He directed those first 3 Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire at that period of time. And a good friend of mine, Jeff Lynch, was the second unit director for those 3 films. He also worked on boarding them beforehand. But yeah, those were enjoyable Spider-Man. I mean, I enjoyed those movies.
Yeah, well, I had a blast working on this one, especially when it came out and it got the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, so that was fun. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And from there, where'd you go?
Well, I was there at Sony for about 6-7 years. And
okay, so did you work on the third Spider-Man?
I worked on the third Spider-Man. I worked on the first, Evan Max film. Or rather, he was the visual effects supervisor. What was it? So I'm the name of the movie and the name of the main actor. I'm completely blowing smoke out here. But anyway, it did quite well at the box office. I'd have to go look up just not coming to me right now.
All right, it'll come. It'll come. Yeah.
Anyway, so there was that, and then I also worked on. I think the last thing I started working on. Film with Will Smith, Apocalyptic World, and we see a lot of New York just in weeds and destroyed buildings, but worked on that. It was all about the last man alive on planet Earth. You know, I think the guy who did Moses and Planet of the Apes had been the original star of the first movie when it was done in the 60s. Anyway, it was a remake of that, did quite well. But then the last thing I worked on was Speed Racer. They had just started Speed Racer. I got put on that show at Sony. And then I did a sidestep and moved back to Digital Domain and worked on Speed Racer over there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Huh. So I just did lighting over at DD, and that was DD version 2 after the original crew that was running it had left, and now they had Michael Bay and a group called I think Wavecrest or Wave something or another that they were bringing projects into the visual effects studio.
So the Will Smith project was I Am Legend.
Oh, very good. Thanks. Yeah.
You also worked on Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, yeah. Yeah.
That was that with Nicolas Cage, I think?
Yeah, Nick Cage. Yeah. Played Johnny Blaze, I think.
That's awesome. But, so talk a little bit about it. I want our listeners to understand when you're in live action visual effects, I mean, that's somewhat of a nomadic lifestyle, right? Because you could go to a shop and spend several years there like you have, going from project to project to project. But sometimes if there is no project, you leave and you go and look for another project. Am I right?
That's right. And sometimes it's because, the project you're going to, you're just not that impressed with. You don't really want to work on it. And so you start looking around to see if there are any other opportunities out there. If you can find something that'll, suit your what's going on and the opportunity there, is better, you'll move over and go somewhere else.
Yeah. And that seems to be, your career. I mean, you kind of moved around and.
Yeah. I would just look for the best opportunity and go there.
Yeah. And work there for as long as you could until another opportunity came about, and then you'd move on.
For me, it was always fun when I ended up working on a Disney film, but I wasn't working for Disney. Yeah, I worked on a couple of Disney films. The Herbie Fully Loaded.
Okay.
And so that was in the early 2000s, and Lindsay Lohan starring. She was still a fairly young actress. And it was another remake of Herbie and bringing him out as the Volkswagen. But this time it's all NASCAR based, and he's doing a bunch of street racing and then racing in NASCAR races. And the NASCAR thing was kind of interesting because I guess they had a certain number of NASCAR cars that they could use or were licensed or contracted to use in shooting some of the live action footage. But NASCAR races are typically like, 30, 40 cars, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think they only had about 15. So we had to sort of flesh out the rest of the cars on the track and make them blend in with the live action cars that were there.
Wow.
And then we had to put Herbie and doing all his crazy stuff, and flipping over and jumping up on like the retaining walls and, doing all kinds of crazy stuff with him. And we had to accelerate his age over the race, to where he would start out perfectly clean, and by the end he's covered with like paint he swapped with other cars and damaged to fenders and tires and hubs and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's what I was working on that film.
I noticed that you also worked on a lot of television shows.
Oh yeah.
What's the big difference between doing visual effects for a feature film and doing visual effects for a television show?
Well, typically it's the amount of time you're given to do the visual effects in a motion picture. You have a little more time, a little bit more time to think it over and plan it and really execute. On a TV show, it's like, no, there's no time for anything. You just go.
Yeah.
Just very, very quickly.
And are those TV shows, like you said, you went back over to Digital Domain? Was that shop doing TV show stuff, or were you left Digital Domain and went somewhere else?
I left Digital Domain, and most of the TV work I did, if I remember.
And you left Digital Domain before it finally collapsed.
Yeah, before it got sold to I think a Chinese multinational.
Okay.
And now it still exists somewhere south, but all the insiders always refer to it as DDV3. It's the version 3 of it now.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so
it's a shadow of what it used to be.
Well, I don't know. It's doing quite well. It's making more money than it ever has, which is
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But you left Digital Domain and went where?
I can't remember exactly. I really have to bring up my IMDb page and start looking at it to see where I went, because there was just so much jumping around. I started doing a lot of commercials. I started doing a lot of TV.
Fuse
effects, definitely. Fuse effects was a huge shop for TV. They were doing a lot of cool stuff.
Okay, so you were at Fuse Effects for TV. So you did The Good Doctor and SWAT and 911 and some of those types of shows. Station 19.
Yeah.
Ozark.
Yeah, just did a few shots for Ozarks. If you saw that.
Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, some of the overhead swamp shots where you see like there's like you hear like a gunshot, from nowhere, and wonder what that was, and you see like birds scatter out of the trees and stuff like that. That was the stuff I was doing.
Yeah. LA Confidential.
Oh, that was a blast.
TV movie.
Yeah.
So, I want to have you just talk a little bit about, you're going from one TV show to the next. It looked like you were at Fuse Effects for quite a while, and then you went to Ghost Visual Effects in Toronto.
Yeah, that was recently. I went to Method Studios.
Okay, I've heard of Method, yeah.
Yeah, I went to Method Studios over in Santa Monica, and I was working remotely for them. And so I had my own studio out here in my garage outside, and I was working there doing work remotely for companies in Toronto and Montreal.
Uh-huh.
And so we were working on that's where I did Thor: Love and Thunder, and also where we did a film. Let's see, where is that thing? Yeah, here we go. A film that just came out this year.
Hold it up higher. I didn't
hold it up higher. Here we go. Yeah, that film just came out on Netflix.
All right.
Yeah. I was working on that in 2023.
So again, how much of this work are you doing remotely? Because when the pandemic hit, you were obviously doing remote work.
Right. Yeah, that was all during 2021 through 2023. And I worked on a couple of big things I did.
What, Wednesday?
Well, Wednesday was something
series
that I worked on for the Toronto for Ghost VFX, but I also did the Amazon series, The Rings of Power.
Oh, right, okay,
right.
So you did work on that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a hugely effects-heavy project.
Oh,
okay.
So
yeah. We're bumping up against time on this episode, Jim. I'd love to continue our conversation next week,
okay.
and I really want to have you think about this, because I want to talk a little bit about the state of the industry. And so I look forward to talking with you next Monday right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.
Sounds good.
Hi, I'm Director Kevin Lima, and you're listening to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Your attention, please. Now loading on track number 1 for a trip around Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom.
Skull Rock Podcast.
All aboard.
Your Main Street to the world of Disney.
All right, Dave, another blockbuster interview with Jim Hillin. What a nice guy Jim is. And can you believe it? We've got part 4 on deck next week.
And we wrap it up with part 4. We've got some really great guests coming along. I mean, Jim is terrific, but I just want our listeners to know that we've got more incredible interviews. We've got a great interview with director Kevin Lima coming up.
Can't wait.
Multi-part. We know him as the director of the Goofy movie and Enchanted and Tarzan and so much. He talks extensively about his career and gives us a peek behind the scenes. Bill Croyer's joining us. Tad Stone's one of the quote founders, if you will, of Disney TV animation. We're going to get sort of the behind the scenes. So I normally don't tease our guests, but I just wanted to because we've got so many great people coming up.
It's going to be insane. All the great shows that we have coming up. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for it. It's going to be great. Gang, thank you. You've made it all the way to the end. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you subscribing to our shows everywhere you get podcasts, including YouTube, because we love to get that algorithm going for us. We appreciate that. Also, follow us on all the social media, as Dave said earlier on the show, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. Dave and I are both on there. Instagram. Be sure you check out the show archive there at skullrockpodcast.com. Years of great interviews and discussions about all things pop culture and streaming, movies, TV. So please go back in the show archives and check out skullrockpodcast.com. Send us those emails as well. We'd love to hear from you. Dave at skullrockpodcast.com or Aljon, Aljon, at skullrockpodcast.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at AljonGo, on X as well. And you can also check out my other podcast, Dining at Disney Podcast, every single week. Myself, my wife, Kristen, and Kat R. Corey talk about the parks, as well as our favorite discussion about Disney food. We're heading into the parks soon in the next coming weeks. Cannot wait to report back on what's going on there. Dave?
Well, as always, you can hear me on my the Tunes Behind the Tunes show on Sirius XM Disney Hits channel 133. My episodes drop randomly throughout the month on channel 133 on Sirius XM, so check that out. Of course, you can always go to theoldmillpress.com and get signed copies of not only my books but other authors' books, including my latest book, Find Your Happy Place: The 8-Step Guide to Boosting Your Creativity Through a Personal Retreat, winner of a gold medal at the Fire Book Awards. You can also check out my website at davidbossert.com. There's docu-minutes, there's little videos, there's my books, there's articles I've written, there's free content, there's free stuff. Go to davidbossert.com. And with that, Aljon, it's summer. I am going to say, go out, have a great week, be kind to one another, and we'll see you back here next Monday, right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.
Your attention, please. Now loading on track number 1 for a trip around Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom.
Skull Rock Podcast.
All aboard.
Your Main Street to the world of Disney.
All right, Dave, another blockbuster interview with Jim Hillin. What a nice guy Jim is. And can you believe it? We've got part 4 on deck next week.
And we wrap it up with part 4. We've got some really great guests coming along. I mean, Jim is terrific, but I just want our listeners to know that we've got more incredible interviews. We've got a great interview with director Kevin Lima coming up.
Can't wait.
Multi-part. We know him as the director of the Goofy movie and Enchanted and Tarzan and so much. He talks extensively about his career and gives us a peek behind the scenes. Bill Croyer's joining us. Tad Stone's one of the quote founders, if you will, of Disney TV animation. We're going to get sort of the behind the scenes. So I normally don't tease our guests, but I just wanted to because we've got so many great people coming up.
It's going to be insane. All the great shows that we have coming up. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for it. It's going to be great. Gang, thank you. You've made it all the way to the end. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you subscribing to our shows everywhere you get podcasts, including YouTube, because we love to get that algorithm going for us. We appreciate that. Also, follow us on all the social media, as Dave said earlier on the show, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. Dave and I are both on there. Instagram. Be sure you check out the show archive there at skullrockpodcast.com. Years of great interviews and discussions about all things pop culture and streaming, movies, TV. So please go back in the show archives and check out skullrockpodcast.com. Send us those emails as well. We'd love to hear from you. Dave at skullrockpodcast.com or Aljon, Aljon, at skullrockpodcast.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at AljonGo, on X as well. And you can also check out my other podcast, Dining at Disney Podcast, every single week. Myself, my wife, Kristen, and Kat R. Corey talk about the parks, as well as our favorite discussion about Disney food. We're heading into the parks soon in the next coming weeks. Cannot wait to report back on what's going on there. Dave?
Well, as always, you can hear me on my the Tunes Behind the Tunes show on Sirius XM, Disney Hits, channel 133. My episodes drop randomly throughout the month on channel 133 on Sirius XM, so check that out. Of course, you can always go to theoldmillpress.com and get signed copies of not only my books, but other authors' books, including my latest book, Find Your Happy Place, the 8-Step Guide to Boosting Your Creativity Through a Personal Retreat, winner of a gold medal at the Fire Book Awards. You can also check out my website at davidbossert.com. There's docu-minutes, there's little videos, there's my books, there's articles I've written, there's free content, there's free stuff. Go to davidbossert.com. And with that, Aljon, it's summer. I am going to say, go out, have a great week, be kind to one another, and we'll see you back here next Monday, right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.